Hello folks, this is Mark Smith with Family Tree Counseling Associates, and I'm okay, and I'm back making videos for the first time in quite a while. I know that many of you saw videos I had made about trauma and were rightly quite concerned for my mental health and well-being. So I wanted to share about my process that I've been going through and talk about healing post-traumatic stress disorder symptoms. So first of all, I want to say that I'm not anywhere close to being a world-renowned expert on healing post-traumatic stress disorder. That would be Bessel van der Kolk and Peter Levine, would be those guys. Diane Shapiro, those people. But what I share is what I went through in my personal experience this past 73 days it's been. So on April 26th of 2015, I got blown up. My defenses were really blown to smithereens, shattered into a billion pieces. And I don't want to go into details. I think my previous videos, I was in so much pain and shock that I really didn't use appropriate discretion in protecting this other individual's identity and information. I don't want to get into that. Just suffice it to say that I was shocked and in a lot of pain about infidelity in my relationship. I'll just say that. And what happened was I began to have panic attacks. And when I would have a panic attack, my heart rate would go up. Physiologically, I was very intense, and I would have to pace back and forth, back and forth. It was hard for me to sit down. Couldn't really sleep. I lost interest in food. I've lost 45 pounds, which I could have stood to lose 45 pounds. So there's a lot of blessings that's come out of this experience, and that's one of them. I was very tearful. I still am pretty tearful. I presented as having a lot of anger and rage initially, the first 3 weeks or so of this experience. A good word to describe what was going on with me is I was unhinged, and I really didn't see it coming. The thing about when you're crazy, you don't know you're crazy. I've never been really crazy before, and I was, the first 3 weeks since April 26th, I was pretty crazy. And everybody who knows me will testify to that effect. But I didn't know it. The triggers for my panic attacks were things like red trucks, bananas, various restaurants, left-handed people, a certain guy's first name, places I had been with my fiance. And when I had these panic attacks, it was overwhelming. And the thing about trauma is it's very treatable, but if you don't treat it immediately and treat it well and treat it right, it can take you out. And I did have a day when I was actually, I'm a little bit embarrassed to say, but I was actually suicidal. I was at my gym where I play basketball, the Monon Center in Carmel, and I was warming up to play a game, and I just thought, this is too hard. I'm gonna go home and sit in my sports car and take a couple of Ambien and just drift away. And but then I played the game of basketball that was coming up for me, and felt a lot better afterwards. I have to apologize to my guys. When I was going through this initially, where I was so angry, when I played ball, somebody would come through the lane, and I would toss them 5 feet out the lane. And I told them, if you don't want tossed, don't come down in here. And it had the effect of first alienating all my buddies, but it also had the effect of working some of the rage out of my system. And nobody was hurt, and there weren't any fights, and I hope it's forgotten. But I went home that day and I didn't harm myself because I was feeling a lot better, because the endorphins and stuff got working with the basketball. So thank God for basketball. I can tell you how not to handle trauma, and so this is how not to handle trauma. Continue to work, and in my case, I actually, probably my main specialty is couples where there's been an affair. How do you suspect that turned out? I worked for 3 weeks, and I would get mostly through the day, and then I'd have to quit because I was so sad. But that was just a horrible idea. And then I went on a cruise with my daughter, who's almost 20, and that was a really bad idea. A really bad idea. Shoot, she's almost 21. My bad. Don't anybody tell her I said that. She's almost 21. I knew that. I went on a cruise with her, and I would become claustrophobic because there were so many people around. And then I wouldn't show people around me that I was angry, but then my daughter would see my anger, and I sort of caused some damage in that relationship. So things that you don't want to do if you have any kind of trauma, whether it's caused by, in my case, infidelity, really bad infidelity, and also rooted back into my really strong abandonment in my childhood. By the way, I'm in St. Joe, Michigan, on Silver Beach, on Lake Michigan. Some of you have been here. It's one of my safest places in the whole world. And I have a couple of therapists close, and a wonderful place to go and do some body work. So I'm going to share 15 ways that worked for me. And these may not work for you, some of them, but most of them will. I guarantee you that. All of them may not, but so 15 things that I've done that 73 days, I would say my panic attacks are 90% better. I have fewer of them. I don't really get triggered that much. And the ones I have are not as strong. So thank God for that. The other thing that's better is I went through a withdrawal period, as if withdrawing from a drug. And this relationship I was in didn't survive this experience. And I missed her. I loved her. And I was real sad and also, addicted. So again, it brought up, when you go through trauma, whether you're mugged or sexually assaulted, or you see planes flying into towers, or you go through an automobile accident, whatever it is that you experience trauma from, almost always it's going to bring you back to wounds and trauma from your childhood. And mine was really about being severely abandoned by my mother when I was a little baby. So the first thing that I did, that was probably the best thing I did, was I called a great therapist, and his name is Paul Hartman, and he has worked at On-Site. He has worked with Patrick Carnes at his treatment facility in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, Pine Grove. Paul Hartman is a brilliant therapist, and he has experience in working with trauma caused by sexual addiction. And so I was, I think, involved with somebody who probably had some sexual addiction. And Paul, finding the right therapist who understands trauma and understands addiction is priceless. This man was caring and insightful, and I worked with him 8 years ago when this trauma first came up for me in a similar way, briefly and very small compared to this experience. And he saved my life then, and he saved my life now. So Paul Hartman, and just find a great therapist. And if you'd have come to me 3 months ago, I wouldn't have been that guy, because I did not understand trauma, and thankfully I do now. If you come in and you present with trauma, I think I'll be able to give you some help. The second thing is find a good EMDR therapist, and I'm embarrassed, but I don't even know what that stands for, the initials. I just know it works. It's the thing where you do the fingers back and forth, and that sounds silly, but this brand of trauma therapy has been extensively researched, and it works almost like magic. The research indicates that you can completely heal even really intense trauma experiences as an adult, and almost all the way heal wounds, trauma wounds from your childhood, to where you can live a pretty normal life. And most therapy, as you know, is not that way. There are people that have been in therapy 20 years who don't get that kind of results. So the second thing I did was I contacted an EMDR therapist here in St. Joe. Her name is Shannon Groh, G-R-O-H. And she had an office right on Main Street, just down the street from my spa, which I'll get to in a little bit. And she talked, and she actually had an iPad that had a little ball bouncing back and forth, and I just look at it while I was talking about my childhood wounds and the wounds from this trauma experience that I've went through recently. The third thing, and maybe even the most powerful, is I did a lot of body work or massage work. And what I mean by that is, this woman wouldn't just give me a massage, she would sort of sense where the pain was in my body and address it in my body. And I would literally weep for an hour and a half every massage, mainly when she touched my chest and belly, but pretty much would weep for most of the hour and a half. And I did that every day for many, many days. And thank God for it. Her name is Deborah Ward, and she's with Revive Spa. And I also did a bunch of other little spa offerings here at this spa, where I call it the steamy thing. And all it was, it's a machine that sort of shoots steam toward your body, and it sort of has this cover that lays on top. But here's the point. Bessel van der Kolk wrote a book called Your Body Keeps Score. And if you have trauma experiences, it's going to manifest itself in your body. So much of the work that I did was around my body, and exercise and walking and running and pacing and doing massage. So the best thing you can do if you feel trauma in your system is get a great massage therapist and go every day and cry. The fourth thing I did was I went to a place called Onsite, which was started by Sharon Wadeschneider Cruz many years ago, and it's a place to go to heal. I went to what's called a trauma workshop, and I went 6 days and stayed over in a cabin, and we did psychodrama. which is another one of the list of 15 things that I did, where you act out. You have 8-10 people in a room, and you have somebody play, I had somebody play this person, and somebody play the guy she was cheating with, and various little scenarios where you work it out of your system. And so on site, I can't recommend it more highly. It helped me so much. It helped me work through my trauma. After the 6 days, they have a residential program called Milestones here, and not here, I'm in Michigan. This is down in Tennessee, sort of near Nashville, about an hour away from Nashville. And Milestones is just a more intensive. One of the fellas that I was up the hill, we call it, at the workshops, he said the workshops is sort of like being in jail, and then Milestones is like being in prison. And what we mean by that is it's sort of, you don't have a phone, you don't have a car, you don't have a laptop, you don't have your medication, you don't have a lot of freedom, but you have a lot of time on your hands to feel and cry and work. The next thing that really helped me, oddly enough, was yoga. Yoga. You'd be surprised that I'm talking about yoga. I hated yoga. But there were 3 occasions where I went into a yoga class where I was a mess. I was tearful, I was confused, I was anxious, and I did yoga and I left feeling peace, and it got me through. And research has shown that one of the best treatments for post-traumatic stress disorder is yoga. I'm going to toss in meditation. Meditation and yoga obviously are different, but there's a lady, her name's Bella Ruth Napperstack, and she makes these fabulous meditations that you can get on iTunes. Bella Ruth Napperstack. So they did research of people that did yoga and did meditation versus regular talk therapy and medication. And yoga and meditation was proven to be more effective than talk therapy and antidepressants. How about that? Another thing we did was, it was sort of dance therapy or body movement, body work, where we just moved a lot and stretched a lot. And there was a fella who used to be, he trained with Martha Graham, and he worked in musicals and dance his whole life. Andy is his first name, I forget his last name, but he's brilliant and full of energy, and doing body movement and dancing helped me significantly. It brings me into my next point is, for some reason, I've become quite the dancer, and that may sound goofy or weird, but when you heal really deeply, you'll have a joy. And I've had so much joy that honestly, I would be in my room alone and be dancing. I've got a little stereo thing, and I would be dancing. And on July 4th, there was a really rough day of group therapy. Fireworks were canceled because of the rain, and me and several of the inmates from the treatment center, we danced in the rain, and it was awesome. And honestly, it was one of the best July 4ths I've ever had. Another thing that I strongly recommend as a writer is writing. And I don't just mean journaling. I got a hold of a book called Writing Down Your Soul. And it's using writing as a meditation and as prayer. And it's sort of like journaling plus, where you not only write, you sort of look for guidance and you ask for God to speak to you back through the writing, and he does, in my opinion. So Writing Down Your Soul, I think it seemed like the lady's name was Connor. Last name was Connor. And it really helped me so much. I wrote and wrote and wrote and wrote and wrote and wrote and wrote, and it helped me sort things out. When you go through trauma, you really need to sort some things out. And I spent many hours writing and praying. Another thing that's really helped me was working out. I began every single day when I was in the treatment center, once I got situated, by going to the weight room at 6 a.m. and I didn't miss. They knew I was going to be up and at 'em. I didn't lift a ton of weights. I'm not a super strong guy, but what it did was it burned off the anxiety and the tension and stress in my system, in the physiology of my body. And then I ran every day at about 4:30 and shot baskets and dribbled the basketball. And it not only burned off the weight, it helped me work through the trauma by working it through my system and my body. Another thing that I did that was really helpful was reading. I say reading, I listened to books. I actually did read a book that has been very helpful. So I want to mention 3 books. The first book, actually it's more of an author. His name is Peter Levine, and he has written several books on trauma. And he says, trauma is like there's a tiger in the room. And trust me, folks, he's right. It feels like there's this scary animal who's going to attack you in the room. And it makes you very scared. And this has been the scariest thing I've ever been through in my life. And it has felt like there was a tiger in the room. Sorry, there's some music starting really loud. I think there's a wedding. There's going to be a wedding on the beach. How cool is that? So Peter Levine, there's a tiger in the room. And I actually got a tattoo of a tiger on my heart because it represents trauma, and my heart was traumatized. One thing I want to make clear, and something that you guys have all heard me say many times, and it's sort of my main message, and that is, even if you get traumatized in a relationship, you haven't been victimized. And I don't believe I was victimized. I believe that I signed up for what I got. And it's all good. You heard me say that, and now I'm living it. So y'all know I'm keeping it real, and I practice what I preach. I was not victimized. Nobody gets victimized in their relationship. So another book that really helped me was, as I said, Bessel van der Kolk, somebody who is just brilliant. He's a psychiatrist from Boston, and he wrote a book, The Body Keeps Score, and he taught me all about trauma through this book. And then the third book is Healing Love Addiction by Pia Melody. And I'm a recovering love addict. I fall in love with girls who have issues, women who have issues, and then I stay addicted to them, and they chew me up and spit me out, and that's on me. I did love this person, my fiance, and I wish her blessing, and I wish her a good life, and I wish it would have worked out. So the next thing that really has helped me is having faith in God, and I love going to church now, and I love talking with the pastor, and I love talking with my Christian friends, and I love being able to pray and believe in somebody, a higher power who can help me. And another thing that's helped tremendously is really reaching out for support from many of my friends and my family members. I got to thank my brother Sam. I'm gonna start crying here. Man, the guy, isn't seen as a very emotional fella or a very deep fella, frankly, but man, he got it right, and he really stood by me, and he gave me a ton of support, and I'm just so thankful for him. My friend Michael, my friend Fred, my new friend Jeremiah from church. Just so many people have pitched in and helped me when I was sort of at my worst. Some friends from my practice who just have been wonderful standing by me. I went in my practice the other day for the first time in probably 5 weeks. First of all, I looked around, I said, man, this place is really nice. I had forgotten. And I was just in tears of joy of just seeing those people who stood by me, all of them, all of my associates. And Renda has been especially helpful and supportive of me. So if you're going to get through trauma, you need massive support. You're going to need 12-step groups. You're going to need all the friends and all the family that you can muster and find, because it's hard. It's the hardest thing that I've ever gone through. The last thing is you got to take time off work. You cannot be working while you're going through this. I've been off for almost a couple months now, and I got a couple more weeks to go. So that's how I did it. I did all those things, and I worked at it all day, every day for a couple of months, and I feel so much better. People tell me I glow. I'm not trying to glow, but I feel a joy deep in my spirit, and it's given me an opportunity to heal some things that I've never been able to get out or heal. I got to say that I need to make some amends. I was goofy, I was crazy, I was angry, and I did some things that I regret. I sent out an email to 600 people on my list that was inappropriate. I was trying to get the fella fired. It was just silly, and it was wrong, and it was my trauma. And if you got that email and you wondered what was going on, I wasn't myself. I was in shock. I was angry. I wasn't thinking right, and I'm sorry for that. And like I said to my fiance, I was angry with her, obviously, and verbally critical and shaming, and I wish I could do it over, but I can't. So I make amends to her and apologize to her. And just people I was around, I just came across as angry, and I wasn't. So anyway, I hope you never have trauma. I hope you never have to go through something that painful, but if you do, it's very treatable. It's been 73 days. I don't have panic attacks, hardly at all. And I've been able to move away from this relationship and hold some integrity within myself and be happy. And God bless it. Recovery works. You just got to work it from about 15, 16, 17 different angles and work at it hard, but it does work. So I'm very grateful to God. I'm very grateful to my friends. I'm very grateful to my therapist, Paul Hartman. I'm very grateful to my EMDR therapist, Shannon Grow. I'm very grateful to my massage therapist, Deborah Ward, and to Revive, my spa. And I'm very grateful to On-Site and to Milestones. So that's all I got, folks. I'm coming back to work on the 23rd of July, and I need to make some money. I haven't made a nickel other than my writing in the last couple of months, and I don't have 2 nickels to rub together, and I don't care, because the only thing that really mattered was me getting better, and I have. And so if you feel comfortable, I can help you, dudes out there. I really have some good stuff to share with you. And I'm in a better place than I've ever been in my whole life. So I know God's going to send a whole bunch of people to me, and I'm looking forward to it. So anyway, thanks for watching. God bless.